Our next speaker is Jaclyn Ehli.
Hi, and good afternoon. So 18 years ago, I began my education here at TCC. And I started off pretty good. I actually got on honors, and then my mental health started to decline. And I was missing classes, and then I'd have anxiety about coming back, and so I'd miss more classes. And then I was smoking weed to help with my struggles, and then I would just rationalize not going to school. I'd already missed too much. So I ended up, the last few quarters that I was going to TCC, I had missed so many classes. The very last quarter, I only came on the very first day and didn't even come back. And I received a letter from the school notifying me that I was being placed on academic suspension. So basically, they told me that I could not come back the next quarter. My mental health struggles didn't begin when I first began attending TCC. They began when I was a child. And I'd like to share a letter that I wrote when I was 8.5 years old. I hate myself and my teacher. She is so mean to me, and I really hate myself. I am a dumb person. That's what people say to me, that I am dumb. I really hate myself. I hate my school and my brother, and most of all, I hate myself. Yes, me, my own self. I really hate myself. My foot hurts bad, and my feelings are hurt by my teacher and my best friend. And want to know why I hurt my feelings? It is just because me. I was playing at school and I fell and they laughed at me. I have had a hard day, but I should have a hard day because I hate myself. And I want to work, but I can't because I am rude. That's what people say to me at school. And I want to kill myself. But everyone says that I am rude, but I am, and it is not worth time to read this because I hate myself. And I can't tell my friends because they will just say I hate you too, to me. And I would not care, and you don't have to tell me you don't like me because I know you don't. And you hate me too, just like my friends. From Jaclyn, no last name because I don't belong here anymore. I should live in a dump. The end. So that's how I felt at 8.5 years old. And I experienced trauma as a young child. And because of that trauma, the pain from it, I went to counseling. But the behavioral symptoms that I showed after that led me to feel feelings of guilt and shame. I thought I was a horrible person. For instance, I was stealing from my parents and doing other things that were not in alignment with what I believed to be a good person's actions. So I kept continuing living my life, making choices that were leading me to confirm this feeling that I was horrible and I deserved to die. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, social and generalized anxiety disorder, and ADD when I was 13 years old. And I was put on psychiatric medications. These medications were meant for these disorders that I was diagnosed with, and I thought as a result I had some hope. Okay, I'm going to take these and I'll get better. But what was going on was I was still feeling horrible about myself. I was still feeling suicidal, and I didn't share that with people. But as I continued living my life and taking these medications as prescribed, still feeling no hope, but going through the motions, I spent the next 19 years on meds. And then I started here at TCC, and like I said, my struggles led me to I was doing well, and then I started to decline. And here was that confirmation of no good, no hope. Here I am, just a loser, I'm a failure, and why am I even trying? So I didn't believe that I was capable of earning a college degree. My GPA was at a 2.5 when I left, and through the years, I ended up being diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. Now, I read about this disorder, and I was like, wow, this is me. Oh my gosh, like, I have a newfound hope. This is like I'm reading about my life. And what happened was I began to identify as my disorder. This was me. I have hope as long as meds are going to help. So I was seeing a psychiatrist. I ended up being hospitalized for being suicidal. I was sleeping all the time. When I wasn't sleeping, I was irritable. I wasn't taking care of my household duties. I wasn't taking care of myself, period. I didn't have the energy. I wasn't responding to messages. My mom would call, she'd show up at the door, and I would hide. I was using marijuana and alcohol to try to cope. And I wasn't even having the energy to read my messages, much less respond. I didn't want people to know how horrible I was feeling. Because if they knew, then, what good did that help? I was just going to bring them down. So I just held it in and I hid from people. I withdrew, and as long as, I wasn't around people, then they didn't know. I'd make plans and I wouldn't follow through. And my parents ended up contacting my then husband at the time, and my mom had looked up information and found out that she could take me to the emergency room. So she took me to St. Joseph Hospital, and I ended up spending 5 days there. And what happened was I had a break from my reality. I got to work on myself and focus on what was going on in my life, and that was very helpful. But when I left, what I experienced was what's called a pink cloud. I had this false sense of security, this belief that I could take on anything. I mean, I'd have 5 days away from my reality, per se. And once I had the first fight with my ex-husband, I ended up falling further down, and I was more depressed and more suicidal than when I had entered the hospital. But having been diagnosed with these disorders, I continued to take medications, and I started seeing a psychiatrist. I would tell the psychiatrist, okay, I'm struggling. And he's like, okay, I'm going to add this medication. Next time I come back, I'm still struggling. Okay, increasing the dosages. Come back. Yeah, I'm still struggling. And I'd share things that I was struggling with. These were things that were life situations and whatever. And he's like, okay, well, I got this new med, and I'm going to go ahead and add this. And I'm like, okay, hoping for that magic pill, because I was miserable. I wanted to die. And I was feeling like I was just this horrific person based on behaviors stemming back from my childhood that were confirmed by behaviors that that happened throughout my life. So I continued taking these medications, and I would fill this pill container each night, taking 9 medications I got up to, 9 psychiatric medications. And some of those I would take 3 times a day. And I got tired of filling that container. I got tired of putting all these pills in here and thinking, here I am taking all these medications and I'm still feeling horrible. And I ended up in a relationship around that time that was severely abusive. So here, I had already been abusing myself mentally. I'd already been telling myself that I'm horrible, that I should die. That's self-abuse. So then I'm in a relationship with somebody who has similar struggles, and we bonded. And we bonded over our struggles, and then he started to abuse me. And I was vulnerable to it, because that's how I felt about myself. So, hey, these meds aren't working, I have no hope. And sadly, I wouldn't say it was welcome, but I wasn't turning it away. So here I experienced somebody else telling me that I was horrible, I deserved to die, and then was trying to take my life. And I ended up I tried to take my life after that, because I stopped taking those medications. I was tired of taking those. I stopped them abruptly. Not the most healthy choice, not recommended. But I had lost all hope, and within a couple of months, I tried taking my life. And I failed at that. And that's how I saw that. I'm a failure once again at something that I'm trying and was hoping for. Wow, like, so I ended up going and getting help. He asked me to get help so I could be there for him. So I had hope. Somebody wanted me to be there for them. And I ended up going to the hospital and checking in. And at that time, just prior to that, I had actually started using hard drugs with him. I had started using methamphetamines and heroin. And I had started living in my car. And so I had switched from taking Adderall for ADD and started using meth, and then rationalizing why it's an amphetamine, now I'm taking a methamphetamine. And then Klonopin for my anxiety to heroin. So, again, that rationalization, I was getting some of my needs met. But when I checked in the hospital, because I had the mental health struggles and also the addiction, they ended up transferring me to Fairfax, which is a hospital that I had gone to before during the day, but this was for co-occurring disorder treatment. That's for mental health and drug addiction. And then I still was struggling with being suicidal, and I ended up transferring to another hospital. And while I was there, my ex was saying he wanted to kill himself, and he wanted me to be there for him. So he asked me to come back. And I said, I can't be there for you. I'm not even better myself. And there was a pastor in there, and I asked him if he would pray for us. And I told him I didn't know how to pray. I was raised Catholic, and I recited prayers, and I had turned from my faith. And so I asked him about that, and he encouraged me to pray for guidance. And for the first time in my life, I prayed and I asked God for guidance. And that was a turning point in my life, because before I had sought out help with counseling, medications, hospitalization, other ways of coping. But this was the first time in my life that I asked for help from God. And it was weird. It was a little uncomfortable, honestly, and I was scared because I didn't know what that prayer would lead to. But what it led to was a change in perspective. What I experienced was seeing that I wasn't alone, and that there was purpose in all of the challenges and struggles I was experiencing. So these challenges and struggles led to learning and growth opportunities. This domestic violence that I experienced, where someone was trying to take my life, led me to fight for my life, unlike ever before. To see that I had more self-esteem than I actually believed. To actually acknowledge the positives about myself, and that I was gaining self-worth through that horrible time. When I experienced homelessness, I've experienced a variety of homelessness, from living in a car, living in the streets, living in trailers, living in tents. And what it did was I had been raised upper middle class and experienced a life more privileged. And I was experiencing a life without. I have so much more gratitude for little things like water and shelter and a structured environment that helped me lead to structure in my life. So through those challenges, I became a better person. I overcame so much of the struggles that I was already experiencing, and I saw that I actually wanted to live. I haven't taken any psychiatric medications since 2015, and that was after 4 hospitalizations for mental health. I once again, I didn't plan on coming back to TCC, and since coming back last September, I've been getting 4.0s every quarter. So that's incredible, and I must admit that each quarter I struggle with belief in myself. I remember coming in when I first came here, talking to Dr. Barb and telling her, she asked me if I plan on going on for a 4-year degree, and I said no. I was like, I didn't even plan on getting here. And she's like, oh, you're going there. And she had belief in me. And so it was because of people holding on to belief in me that helped me to gain belief in myself. And then as I started believing myself, I've been able to help others gain belief in themselves. And one of my teachers, who's retired from here, Jim Carroll, he taught us that self-care is job number one. So I learned that big time when I was struggling, and then when I heard that in school, I was like, oh, absolutely. If we don't take care of ourselves, like, we can't depend on others to take care of us. We are all in this world that's full of pain, full of guilt, full of shame, people hurting others because they're hurting. And so we have the opportunity to take care of ourselves first and really look out for our best. And then we can seek out help and be there for others. But I have done so much and experienced so much pain, and that pain led to so much gain. So I realized that through those experiences, we gain different lenses. And say, for instance, somebody experiences getting bit by a pit bull, and then they think that all pit bulls are aggressive, they're going to bite, and they live in fear. Well, we have an opportunity. We can take off those shades, those lenses, or we can let them continue clouding up our view and limiting our experience in life. So I encourage you all to consider your perspectives of yourself, others, and your experiences, and think about them. Are they helping you, or are they limiting you? And thank you.